This video is for the domain and range introduction and vocabulary notes. So the first thing we're going to start off with are some notations for domain and range. So when you see this symbol right here, it kind of looks like a curved E. This represents an element of a set. This R that's written with double lines represents the set of real numbers. Z represents the set of integers. Q represents the set of rational numbers. W represents the set of whole numbers, and N represents the set of natural numbers. All right, so a little bit of vocabulary. So we're going to be using interval notation, and that is the notation in which the solution is represented by a continuous interval. Then we have inequality notation, and this is the notation in which the solution is represented by an inequality statement. And then finally we have what's called set notation or builder. So you'll see it written that way with builder in parentheses. And this is the notation in which the solution is represented by a set of values. So braces are used to enclose the set. So you can see the braces here, and we have X, and then the line X, and then that curved E is read as the set of X, such that X is an element of, and so after this E you would put a value or a set of values. And then a set could be a list of values contained within the braces. All right, so some examples of how this stuff can be written. So you do have another page of notes that looks like this that gives you some examples, what they should look like on a number line, in inequality and interval notation. So they've given us all the verbal descriptions. We're going to turn them into interval, inequality, and set notation. So X is all real numbers less than 5. So how I would write that as interval notation would be, let me give you a few other things. If we use less than or greater than, we use parentheses. If it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we use brackets. Anytime that we're dealing with negative infinity or positive infinity, we use the parentheses as well. So X being less than 5, X is less than 5. I could write that in a real simple inequality. Okay? So for interval, what we would write, the interval would be from negative infinity to 5. And again, we'd use parentheses because of that sign. As an interval, or as an inequality, sorry, we would write X is less than 5, but we add to it at this point. So we would say X is an element, so that kind of curved E, and it's all real numbers. So we indicate a little bit more specifically this here. For set builder, we would use these braces. When we're talking about X, we would write it this way, the element symbol. So X is an element of the real numbers, and X, or when X is less than 5, and we would close it with those curly Q braces. Now if we were going to say X is all real numbers, every number is included. So in interval notation, it would be from negative infinity to positive infinity. In inequality notation, X is an element of the set of all real numbers. And then in set notation, we would leave it at that. There's no other stipulations on it. All right, X is all whole numbers greater than -3 and less than or equal to -6. So this one we write a little bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and write the inequality first. So we're going to start at -3, and x is greater than this. So that's how I would write x is greater than -3. This actually says -3 is less than x. And then x is going to be less than or equal to 6. So as an interval, I'm going to start with the -3, and it's going to have a parenthesis because it's just this less than sign. Then comma 6, and then this side is going to be a bracket. And then we can say that x is an element of the whole numbers. So again, being a little bit more specific. Same thing here, we can say x is an element of whole numbers. And then finally in this one, let's see if I can get it to fit. X is an element of whole numbers. -3 is less than x, and x is less than or equal to 6. Alright, why is all real numbers greater than -3 and less than or equal to -6? So now this one says y. So we would write this one same way as the one above, but with a y. This would be the same as well. And with it being all real numbers, we don't have to do the specification here because it's all real numbers. Here though, we can add it. Y is an element of the set of all real numbers. And then finally, y is a member of the set of real numbers, where -3 is less than y, and y is less than or equal to 6. And then finally, y is all integers greater than or equal to 0. So y is greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to start at 0 and get bigger. So I would write that with a bracket because we're starting at 0 and go all the way to infinity, and infinity always gets a parenthesis. And then y is an element of the integers. Same thing here. And then in set notation, same thing, set of integers where y is greater than or equal to 0.